Do you have any specific myths about how the brain works or any ideas on how the brain works that aren't quite complete? And what would be the correct way to see it?
I think one of the myths that's kind of interesting and fascinating is psychoanalysis. So, looking at the ego as a part of the psyche that we need to continually delve into and continually dredge up and look at to find solution and resolution. And it might provide the capacity for insight, but I don't see that it can lead to a deep, insightful, meaningful understanding. Yeah, that's what comes to mind around myths. And the other myths and understandings or misunderstandings. An example is the amygdala. We lack the knowledge that the amygdala operates as something, for those of you out there listening, it's known as implicit memory. So what it means is when we've had a strong emotional experience known as trauma, the amygdala then stores pattern recognition. And it's kind of like the fire alarm of the brain. And what I see the myth is that people take the reaction of the fire alarm as a reflection of their personality or as a reflection of their value or worth as a human being. Whereas the amygdala is simply looking, and it's like you could think of a security detector at the airport. So they test for metal, and the amygdala is kind of filtering reality. And as something comes through, it goes, boop, alert. But the person's not doing that. And for us to go and psychoanalyze that deeply for hours and hours, for those of you out there who are listening, I find that, I don't know, that can be kind of like trying to grab a cloud or a wave, trying to just swish waves to change them. What I think the answer to that myth is how do we retrain the amygdala? How do we retrain the limbic system? How do we support the body so that the fire alarm isn't being tripped up as much as it is? Rather than analyzing the sounds of the fire alarm, let's actually look at how we turn the fire alarm off or we make it quieter.
And how do we turn the amygdala off?
So vagal tone, for those of you out there watching, vagal tone is one of my favorite understandings that we look at through the lens of polyvagal theory. So vagal tone represents and refers to the responsiveness and strength of the vagus nerve to stressors in the environment. Now, what is the vagus nerve? Well, you could consider it as the brake, and the amygdala is the throttle to activate the accelerator. So what we want to support people to do, and what I help clients to do, is strengthening up the brake. And there's kind of a cool analogy that is coming to mind as I talk about this. It's like my car, for example. If I'm driving along and it starts to detect that I'm nearing a crash, automatically the brakes come on. And that is how the vagus nerve works. We can strengthen that capacity for the auto braking mechanism in response to stressors or the perception of stress. The trap is, if we have low vagal tone and we're not addressing it, the body then utilizes the handbrake. And that's where we shut down, we're frozen, feeling helpless, hopeless. And one of the myths is, I'm going to analyze everything you're thinking here because there's something in you that we need to fix in your personality. No, the amount of people where, is there something wrong with me? And we look at, no. That's an adaptive response of the nervous system. That's what it's designed to do. It's a whole different paradigm of seeing it through.